This is the story of a woman who died and saw church people in hell. She wants to tell us why they were there. As you listen to her whole story, may God help you understand what she learned. Let's start. My name is Sarah Johnson. I'm 40 years old and I've been a Christian my whole life. I never thought hell was a place for people like me. I read the Bible every day, said my prayers, went to church, and tried to be a good person. But when I died for a short time, Jesus showed me something that scared me a lot. Many Christians, even people just like me, are going to hell every single hour because of something we don't pay attention to. I always thought hell was only for really bad people like killers or people who hated God. But I was totally wrong. What I saw completely shocked me and changed everything I thought I knew about being saved. What Jesus showed me is a warning that everyone needs to hear. But first, please tell me where you're watching this from. It makes me feel closer to you even though we're far away from each other. And please click the like button and write a comment about what you think of this story. Let's talk about it together so we can all learn something from each other here. Okay, here we go. This happened on January 15th, 2019. It was a really cold Tuesday afternoon, and I was rushing to get my medicine from the drugstore before going home. I remember feeling really upset that day because my boss had said mean things about my work and I thought it wasn't fair. I kept thinking about this as I walked into the store. There was a really long line and I started getting more and more annoyed. After waiting for about 10 minutes, I suddenly felt dizzy. The bright lights seemed way too bright and the whole room started spinning around. I tried to grab onto a shelf to keep myself steady, but my legs just gave out. I heard someone yell, "She's falling down," and then everything went completely black. What happened next changed my whole life forever. I found myself in total darkness. Not like when you close your eyes in bed, but complete emptiness, a darkness so thick it felt like you could touch it. I couldn't feel my body anymore. I was just aware, awake, but without any physical form. I don't know how long I stayed like this. Time didn't seem to matter there. Then far, far away, I saw a tiny dot of light. It got bigger, or maybe I was moving toward it. This light was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was pure white, but somehow alive, beating with energy and warmth. As I got closer, I started feeling peaceful in a way I'd never felt before. Inside the light, someone started to appear. I couldn't see exactly what he looked like, but I knew right away who it was. I could feel his love, his power, and his holiness. "Sarah," Jesus said, "I need to show you something important, something you and many others have chosen not to see." Before I could say anything, everything around me changed completely. The peaceful light went away, and I found myself standing at the edge of what looked like a giant hole in the ground. In front of me was a place of horror that I can't really describe with words. The ground was cracked and burned black, and from these cracks came flames that went up higher than I could see. The sky above was dark, almost black, but with deep red streaks cutting through it like cuts. Lightning flashed sometimes, showing the terrible scene below for just a moment. The air was thick with smoke and smelled like rotten eggs. It was hard to breathe, and every breath burned my lungs. But what really scared me were all the people. So many people burning in flames that seemed to hurt them but never kill them. Their screams echoed everywhere. Cries of pain that had no hope of ever stopping. Some of these people reached up like they were trying to escape, while others had given up completely, overwhelmed by their suffering. As I watched, frozen with fear, I started recognizing faces among the people being tortured. I was completely shocked to see people I knew from church. A woman who taught our women's Bible study. A man who sang in the choir every Sunday. Even an old pastor who had baptized me when I was young. "Why are they here?" I asked. "These are Christians. They believed in you, and they served in your name. They lived with too much pride," he said. "They said prayers, but never truly opened their hearts. They judged other people while thinking they were perfect. They thought forgiveness was automatic without really being sorry for their sins." As he talked, I started seeing glimpses of these people's lives. Not just what they did in public, but what they thought and felt inside. The woman who taught Bible study had secretly felt like she was better than the people she taught, thinking her knowledge made her more deserving of heaven. The choir member had held grudges against other people in church, refusing to forgive even while singing about God's mercy. The pastor had preached about being humble while thinking he was better than the people he preached to. Pride is the most dangerous sin, Jesus explained. It was the first sin that led to all the others. Satan's pride caused him to fall, and pride continues to destroy many people who call themselves by my name. He took me closer to one woman whose face was twisted with pain. She went to church faithfully for 40 years, Jesus said. She knew the Bible really well and could quote many verses from memory, but she never let my words change her heart. She judged people who didn't meet her standards of being good. She looked down on people who struggled with sin, forgetting that without my help, she was no different from them. I watched as this woman reached out like she was still praying. But her prayers now weren't the confident words they had been when she was alive. They were desperate begging, filled with the horrible understanding that she had missed what was most important. Many Christians think that saying the right prayers or going to church guarantees they'll go to heaven, Jesus continued. They treat faith like a business deal. They give me their words and expect heaven in return. But I look at the heart. A proud heart can't come to me no matter how many prayers it says. We walked through different parts of this terrible place. In one area, the flames weren't as visible, but the suffering was just as bad. Here were people forced to keep reliving their lives over and over, seeing every chance they had rejected, every person they had judged, every time they could have chosen love but instead chose to think they were better than others. One man looked straight at me. I was a church leader, he said. I helped serve communion every month. I went on mission trips, but inside I thought my devotion made me better than other people. I secretly judged those who didn't serve like I did. I never really understood that without true humility, all my service meant nothing. His words hit my heart hard. How many times had I secretly judged others? How often had I felt superior because I did religious things? How many times had I just gone through the motions of faith without really looking at my heart? Pride blinds people to their own sin, Jesus explained. It creates a false feeling of safety. Many Christians end up here not because they didn't know me, but because they never truly knew themselves. They never let my Spirit show them what their hearts were really like. He led me to another area where I saw a woman I recognized from my own church. Someone who had always seemed so devoted, who volunteered for every event and led children's programs. She thought her good works saved her, Jesus said. She collected good deeds like money, thinking she could earn my favor. But she never understood that salvation is a gift that must be received with humility. She never truly felt sorry for her sins because she didn't think she needed to. She thought her good works were more important than her sins. I watched as this woman cried, her tears seeming to disappear in the heat before they could fall. I did so much, she cried out. I gave so much. How can I be here? You did many things in my name, but you never let me change your heart. You served so that other people would see you and think you were good. You judged people who didn't serve like you did. Your pride stopped you from seeing that you needed grace. As we continued through this place of suffering, I started noticing something else. Many of these people were holding onto religious objects. Some still held Bibles. Others wore crosses or held prayer beads. These things that had once brought them comfort now seemed to make their pain worse. Constant reminders of a faith they had claimed but never truly embraced. Religion without real change is dangerous, Jesus said, seeing what I was looking at. It creates a fake feeling of safety. Many people think that calling themselves Christian protects them from judgment, but faith that doesn't change the heart isn't real faith at all. He brought me to a man dressed in what looked like pastor's clothes, now torn and burned by flames. The man's face showed complete horror and disbelief. He preached my word for 30 years, Jesus explained. He knew theology and church doctrine. He could explain difficult parts of the Bible, but he used my word as a weapon against others instead of letting it change his own heart. He loved the power his position gave him more than he loved me or my people. He preached about grace but lived by judging others. I watched as this former pastor cried out, reciting Bible verses about mercy and forgiveness, verses he had once preached confidently, but now desperately needed to experience himself. Many who teach my word will face stricter judgment, Jesus said. Those who lead others have greater responsibility. This man led many people to a shallow faith that was just like his own, a faith of words and appearances instead of changed hearts. We moved to another section where the people seemed especially upset. These people were reaching out to each other but could never touch. They were eternally alone even though they were surrounded by others. These are people who refused to forgive, Jesus explained. They held grudges while praying for their own forgiveness. They said, "Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us," without understanding what they were asking. They wanted mercy for themselves but punishment for others. One woman in this group looked at me with eyes full of regret. "I thought I was right," she said. "My sister hurt me, and I refused to forgive her. I convinced myself that my anger was justified, that it was righteous anger. I prayed every day but never let go of my resentment. I didn't understand that my refusal to forgive was pride. I thought I had the right to withhold what God had freely given to me." Jesus touched my shoulder gently. "Unforgiveness often comes from pride," he said. "It assumes a position of being better than others. It says, 'My hurt is too big to forgive, yet I forgave those who killed me.'" True humility recognizes that everyone has sinned and fallen short of God's glory, that no one can stand as righteous on their own. As we continued our journey through this place of pain, Jesus showed me Christians from different churches, cultures, and time periods. Some had been pastors, some missionaries, some regular church members. All had claimed to believe in Jesus, but all had let pride prevent real change in their lives. Pride shows up in many ways, Jesus explained. For some, it's obvious arrogance. For others, it's subtle self-righteousness. For many, it's thinking that their understanding of the Bible guarantees salvation. For others, it's believing that their good works earn my favor. All of these are different faces of the same sin, the sin that caused Satan to fall and continues to trap many people who claim to follow me. We approached a group of people who seemed to be arguing even while being tortured. They were quoting the Bible at each other, defending their beliefs, continuing debates that had obviously started when they were alive. "These people put their religious ideas above love," Jesus said. "They were so sure they were theologically right that they forgot the greatest commandments, to love God and love others. They used my word to divide instead of unite, to condemn instead of save. Their knowledge made them proud instead of humble." I watched as these people continued their religious debates even as flames surrounded them. They seemed unable to stop, trapped in patterns of thinking and behavior that had defined their earthly lives. "Knowledge without love is empty," Jesus continued. "Many study my word but miss its heart. They gain information but not transformation. True understanding of the Bible leads to humility, not pride. It shows how much we need grace, not how much we deserve it." He guided me to another section where I saw people who appeared to be doing religious activities. Some were kneeling as if praying, others lifting their hands as if worshiping, still others reciting what seemed to be Bible verses or prayers. These people confused religious activities with relationships, Jesus explained. They thought that doing certain religious acts guaranteed my favor. They prayed specific prayers, went to certain services, participated in particular rituals, thinking these actions earned salvation. They never understood that I want mercy, not sacrifice, that I look at the heart, not just the hands. I watched as these people continued their religious performances, their faces showing the horrible realization that these acts they had believed would save them had become part of their torture. "Religious performance often hides pride," Jesus said. "It creates the illusion of being righteous while allowing the heart to remain unchanged. Many find comfort in rituals because they can control them, unlike the messy work of genuine heart transformation, which requires vulnerability and surrender." As we moved through this terrible landscape, I began to feel overwhelming fear. Seeing people like pastors, worship leaders, Bible study teachers, and regular church members ending up in this terrible place was so scary. It made me wonder, what hope did I have? I had lived my life a lot like them. I went to church, I read my Bible, and I prayed every day. Was I really any different from them? Jesus looked at me with such kindness in his eyes. He said, "Sarah, you're starting to understand. This fear you feel, this recognition that you might also be vulnerable to pride. That's the very beginning of wisdom. Many people never see this about themselves until it's too late. Then he took me to a quieter area. It was still filled with the heavy atmosphere of suffering, but it wasn't as loud or fiery as before. Jesus explained to me, pride is so dangerous because it blinds people to themselves. A proud person thinks they are humble. They look at others and think they are better. They focus on the bad things they don't do instead of examining what's really in their heart. They thank God that they aren't like those sinners, but they don't realize how much they themselves need God's help. Jesus then showed me a man who looked like a modern religious person. He was well-dressed, seemed respectable, and was clearly very religious. This man was praying, and it sounded a lot like a prayer I had read in the Bible. He said, God, I thank you that I'm not like other people, cheaters, evildoers, adulterers. I go to church twice a week. I tithe faithfully, and I volunteer for all the church activities. Jesus told me about this man. This man lived a life that looked good on the outside. He never fell into those big, obvious sins that other people fell into, but this made him even more proud. He couldn't see that his belief in his own righteousness was actually more offensive to God than the sins of the people he was judging. He never truly repented because he never thought he needed to. I watched as this man continued his prayer, a prayer that made him feel good about himself. He couldn't seem to stop, even though it was actually revealing how lost he was. Jesus continued, many Christians focus only on external behaviors instead of examining their hearts. They avoid certain obvious sins but harbor hidden pride. They judge others. They withhold forgiveness, and they believe they are superior. They don't understand that it's not just about what you do or don't do. It's about who you're becoming on the inside. After that, Jesus led me to another part of this terrible place. I saw people there who looked like they were trying to climb out of the pit. They were attempting to build structures out of their good deeds. But as soon as they finished, everything would crumble. Jesus explained, these people believed they could earn their way out of judgment. Even now, they still don't understand that salvation cannot be earned. It's a gift that can only be received through humility. Their pride prevents them from accepting the gift that could have saved them. I watched as these people kept trying and failing. They were remembering all the good things they had done in life, but those memories just evaporated in the heat of this place. Jesus then said, many Christians live as if they can earn God's favor through their actions. Even though they claim to believe in salvation by grace through faith, they actually live as if their good works are what truly please God. This hidden pride keeps them from truly experiencing the freedom that comes from grace. As we continued walking through this place, I noticed that many of the people there kept saying the same thing over and over. They would cry out, Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name? And didn't we cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works? Jesus looked at these people with deep sadness. He said, these words from the Bible are being fulfilled here every day. Many people called me Lord with their lips, but they never truly knew me in their hearts. They did religious things, but they never truly submitted to my lordship. They wanted the benefits I could give them, but they didn't want me to rule their lives. So, my friends, if there's one thing I want you to take away from my experience, it's this. Please examine your own heart. Don't just look at your external religious activities like church attendance or Bible reading. Those things are good, but they're not enough if your heart isn't truly transformed. Ask yourself, am I truly humble? Do I judge others in my thoughts? Do I harbor resentment or refuse to forgive? Do I ever think I'm better than others because of my faith or my good deeds? These are difficult questions, but they're crucial. Don't wait until it's too late to see what's really in your heart. Now is the time to ask God to reveal the truth about yourself. Now is the time to allow Him to transform you from the inside out. Don't trust in mere religious observance. Trust in a genuine relationship with Jesus, one where your heart is open to Him and willing to be changed. Let's all strive for a faith that is authentic, a faith characterized by love and humility. Thank you for listening to my testimony. I pray it has touched your heart and caused you to reflect. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and let's learn together. Also, please subscribe to our channel for more testimonies like this. God bless you.